Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Carrie. Come on in. Welcome to our home here in Dallas.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, Carrie Henderson. We're in our home. It's a Georgian right in the heart of Dallas in a little neighborhood of East Dallas called Lakewood. So my husband and I have 4 kids. We love having people over. Our kids are aged 14 to 9, 3 girls, 1 boy, and we have a rotating door policy. I mean, any day it feels like the 90s where there's just bikes strewn in the yard, kids coming in and out unannounced, grabbing snacks, running into the pool, or getting, out front, climbing a tree. It's been really idyllic. We love this street. We love our neighbors, and our kids have really thrived in this neighborhood. We're thrilled to be here. So when I saw the house, the first day it went on the market, I noticed that the modern look of it had a perfectly centered door, and it had these beautifully symmetrical trees right next to the front door. And I just thought, okay, this can be a Georgian, which I love Georgian architecture, and I've always wanted one, but to be honest, our old house was on such a big hill that my architect said you wouldn't see the roof. It would look like a hotel. The roof would be too flat. So I immediately thought, oh my goodness, maybe I'll get my Georgian. And it was about 2,800 square feet, great house. The pool alone was what sold us. We just, with the 4 kids being so active and we love to host, we just thought, okay, this could be really special for our family. We were able to really use all the square footage and only bump out the front about 6 feet and the back about 6 feet to kind of give it that perfect rectangle for a Georgian look. So welcome to our foyer. This is such a fun space, I think, because as the home builder, I got to design this floor with my amazing tile guys. They were geniuses. I asked them to cut it in half and make wonderful things happen, and they did it beautifully. I loved a checkerboard. As a Georgian house, I feel like it needed a checkerboard floor, and this was for sure the fun way to do it with modern and traditional. So another piece in here that I love, this is I think my first piece of furniture to make, which is kind of wonky in some places, but I found this beautiful tall burl wardrobe. The other half of it is actually up in my room. I lopped it off at the sides, lopped it off at the front, put the top back on, and then I had my weld a base for it. I just had always loved these modern credenzas, and quite frankly, I couldn't afford one. And so I found this beautiful piece that looked like it needed a second life, and I was able to revive it. I did put this like boat lacquer on it, so it is super, super, super shiny, which I love. Arguably not the best job ever, but I think it's beautiful. It's my favorite piece to just walk into and welcome us home when we come in the front door. This piece right here, I found at a garage sale for $5, and I loved it. I immediately thought, oh my goodness, that's going in our foyer. It's just your traditional brass, and it's got that pagoda look, and it just, I thought was lovely. So that was kind of a fun find. Leaving our foyer, we come into the sitting room, which is one of my favorite spaces. This is my Miami Palm Beach room. This room is just a nod to my childhood, and we just love the colors in it. It's more like a parlor. We do sit in here and read. Some cool features of this room. This was the slab taken from one of the bits and pieces from our bar. I love utilizing every piece of anything. So this was kind of a resourceful thing. We were able to just lop it off, make a table, and then I'd already had these benches. So this is kind of a fun way to utilize all the pieces of slab that we had. I love this chandelier. This is one of the more versatile chandeliers, in my opinion. You can see it in a kind of dark and moody dining room, and it just looks like intimate and masculine. And then in here with all these bright colors, I think it looks feminine and poppy and light, like a little cloud. So this is a Julie Neal. I'm obsessed with this. I kind of had to have it. I joke that it was a statement piece, and my husband jokes that the statement, the cost of the statements can get a little high, but this piece is worth it. I love it. A few other things around the house. I love collections. This is just a collection of random glass vases that I've accumulated over the years. I think putting them all together in one little vignette is a fun way to display sort of all these little meaningful pieces I've gathered over the years. And I love rocks. You'll find out throughout the house. Anytime I can throw a geode in something or display it or put a slab of marble, I tend to do it. This room has been sort of my statement room for layering, I would say, in the sense that it's had pieces added to it over time. I've always loved a beautiful cowhide on another rug. I think it's such a cool way to add texture and appeal while also still having kind of the spatial, visual aspect of a big rug. I love little things like adding a tape trim to even an off-the-shelf curtain or putting a lumbar in front of a pillow. It's just a fun way to add a dimension that your eyes can go to. And I think that if you do it in similar color patterns and in similar textures, it can be very cohesive. So for instance, these pillows are actually different patterns, these greens, but they're so similarly colored, and I could only find 2 of each set that I just went with it. And the way that I tied it all together was to put 4 matching lumbars in front so that you still, I think, visually see cohesion, even though when you look this way, you have these, and when you look this way, you have a completely different pillow. And then I think benches and tables are such a practical and functional way to live. So in this room, while we're doing homework or reading, we slide these puppies out, prop our legs up, and can very easily have a more comfortable sitting area while also not cluttering a kind of tiny room. So I love how they fit right underneath this. And again, I think it's pretty, but it's also very, very, very functional. And then I'm a big fan of plants. Anytime you can put a plant in a room, it adds a layer that I think just helps you feel like you're outside, which I think we all do better when we're getting outside occasionally. So anytime you can add either a column with a kind of cascading fern, or again, I'm a huge fan of these birds of paradise. I would put them in every room if I could. I do it because again, it helps fill the space, but also make it feel really cozy and like you're just sitting outside having a glass of coffee or a glass of wine. So when we leave the sitting room, we immediately come into the dining room, which is another one of my favorite spaces. This space is actually pretty large, but I love how, especially when we host people, we pull the chairs out and people are kind of pulling from a buffet. This has a mix of fun and new and old. So these chairs, for instance, are brand new. I love the white and clean. And then this table is an antique that I found for a steal and I just couldn't get enough of. Big 9-foot. I think putting the 2 together works really well. Same with this chandelier. I love sort of the fun green and purple combo, which I think is a little more modern, but then you throw in this antique chandelier and it adds a nice little dynamic. This painting I painted, it's probably my favorite piece that I've painted. It's very reminiscent of our time in California, and there's just little aspects. I am by no means an artist, but I love this little drip going on here. I love the sky, and I think that it's been really fun to see how the pinks go with the green and purple. A fun way to not do chinoiserie paper throughout the whole room was to frame these big panels. So, and it also gave me the mix that I wanted. I loved grass cloth, but I love panels. So this is kind of a combo, getting the grass cloth in the exact same, getting the paint in the exact same color as the grass cloth helps give that beautiful long monochromatic look. And then these panels are hand painted silk and are just a fun nod to a traditional dining room without the cost of having to paper the whole room. So we tore the house down to the foundation. And so when we rebuilt, my goal was to make the room look as old, make the house look as old as possible because it's a Georgian. I wanted it to have that 100-year-old house feel. So when we went through and did all the molding, I really looked online, did my research, and tried to find the molding that matched the era. And so every single one of these panels we added to have the look of a 100-year-old house, even down to the height of the chair rails. Chairs tended to be a little bit shorter back then, and so we made this just a hair shorter than sometimes you're seeing a little bit taller. So this bar cart is fun because it's got a total mix of old and new. I inherited a lot of these crystal decanters from my grandparents who used to host, I'm sure, lavish parties in New York City. Same with this fun ice box, but also new. This was like an opener somebody gave me for Christmas. It's a little jingle, but I just think it's so fun. And then I love our plate wall. Anytime I go anywhere, my favorite souvenir to grab is hand-painted medallion. So Rose Famille Rose medallion, I'll typically pop into an antique store at any place we go to around the world. And so each one has a kind of a story behind it, and I love getting to look at those when I walk into this room. We love meat. We are Texans at heart, so we love steak, we love fish. Sometimes we'll do a surf and turf, but usually steak, medium rare, medium at the worst. But I'll still love you if you take it rare, or take it medium well. And then we typically do a root vegetable or a vegetable like broccoli, and then a yummy salad, sometimes with fruit, goat cheese. And then for dessert, I love anything that can be paired with vanilla ice cream. So we sort of cycle through. We'll do maybe salads first sometimes. Other times we'll just kind of pile it on and then maybe have bread at the table to be passed. And then we'll sort of grab the plates. We don't wash them. We'll just set them right by the sink and then grab dessert and another glass of wine or a cocktail and linger sometimes into the wee hours of the night. So this is a true china cabinet, even though it's very low. I do have a set. I have 25 of these rose medallion, which is really fun for a bigger party. We've done a number of birthday parties and baby showers. And then I have silver, lots of silver I inherited from my grandmother. This needs to be polished for sure, but I have about 15 of these pieces and a number of other pieces. And then my wedding china is white with silver around the edge. And then my other larger set is, of course, the blue willow. And these are some fun jade candlesticks that one of Brian's mentors gave us years ago. And I'm just going to shove that back in there. But we have about 20 pieces of this blue willow as well. When I host bigger parties, I have matching chargers. I have about 80 matching chargers. And so I'll frequently mix together different plates and having them all on the same charger and then a same placemat. And then we have a lot of linens that are embroidered that have been gifts from people that we are able to put out, and we just love. I love the flow for hosting. Our home has the downstairs that just flows together. Through the sitting room behind me, you go into the dining room, which opens to the bar and the living room, and then it all goes to 4 big French doors across the back. And I would say that hosting is a very big part of our family's life, and so I love the flow. I love the space that is conducive to hosting a lot of people, from kids to cocktail parties at Christmas. Attached to our dining room and connected to the main foyer is our bar. This space is fun because it's where we typically have somebody serving drinks when we have a party. It's also where people can come gather drinks when they're at the table. We're having a dinner party. It has also some fun displays of some of the silver I've inherited. And every single one of these glasses has a story. Some of them have been very thoughtful gifts of friends who know I love to host. Some have been fun finds, and some have been just passed down. But we love having various glasses for different occasions. This, for instance, this little kind of martini coupe was given by our neighbor next door in our old house. And it was just a piece that was special to her. And she had 6 of these, and she knew we loved to host, and she thoughtfully came over one day and gave them to us. And it has meant so much to us. We use them often and think of them. Then we also have some fun knock-around items. So these are actually acrylic, and we use them by the pool. So I think it's fun to, by the pool, not always only have styrofoam. You can still have a fun fancy glass rim with tahine and throw in some tequila and some other fun items like limes and make it either a ranch water or a margarita, and not have it be quite so blah as a styrofoam glass. And then this piece is kind of fun because it's hung on this beautiful slab of marble. I told you I loved her stone. And this piece was just a nod to kind of one of those old speakeasy bars in New York. I feel like they all have either really cool antiqued mirrored backs or a really cool stone, and then this bistro shelving, which I think displays but also is lovely in itself and kind of industrial, but not too much. I love this. Hanging it was kind of a thing, but my guys were awesome, and they cut through this slab beautifully, and it's just fun to look at. I love this space. I love this space namely for all the memories that it has of conversations where we'll sit in here, pour a glass of wine, and then sort of get to be authentic and hear somebody's heart in this tiny little space. My style is very compiled, I would say. So my mom, one of the best things she ever taught us was to yard sale and estate sale. And so we frequently just would kind of veer off the road and grab some wonderful items for like $5 when I was young. And that thrill was just deeply ingrained in me. So my house has a lot of pieces that were straight from a garage sale buried at the bottom for $5 that I was able to either polish or touch up, or that was just perfect and nobody else wanted. Some items were sort of found like at market or otherwise on sale, and then I was able to zhuzh it up. I do a lot of sewing, so I've done a lot of the pillows and curtains in the house myself. And then on some of the furniture pieces, a number throughout the house, I actually built it. My dad was a furniture maker and a mechanic, and he always had the best woodworking tools and was very generous with them. So I would find a big burl piece, for instance, chop it in half and make a credenza out of it. And you'll see a number of those throughout the house. But it's kind of compiled. It's old and new and stuff I've made and stuff that a lot of things have been passed down. And different rooms have different styles of my character and of our collective family's character. So it's been fun. Leaving the bar, you come into our living room. That's where the service window opens as well. This great room, we designed extra large to have a more intimate sitting space here. These chairs are rocker gliders, and we frequently will have cocktails with friends, sit here, even with the kids, debrief at the end of the day. And then over here is where we can watch TV. On Monday nights, we have friends come over, we do a Bible study, and we have 12 people sitting in here comfortably. This is kind of where we can have a bigger space. At times when we're watching TV, we turn all of these and we can all enjoy. But this we found that kind of breaking up the larger space into various sections helps keep it not quite so stale if there's only a small party of about 4. But then when we have our whole family together, we can all be in the same space. Again, marble slab. This is the last of the bar piece. we had this cut into this coffee table. Hilariously, when we had it put down, I thought, oh, you know what, maybe I'll tweak the location of it, and I went to grab it, and there's no chance. It is there permanently. Very heavy. And then, fun fact about these chairs. So our next door neighbor had on their bulk trash these chairs. They had this beautiful dark wood caning at the back that unfortunately our movers broke when we moved them in, but they fixed it, and I kind of like the newer caning. But I reupholstered these myself. I actually made pillows for them, which I have in the breakfast nook, but these were kind of a fun trash, to treasure item. We just saw them and thought, okay, we can make something out of these. I painted this painting as well. Fun fact about this is that it hides our TV behind it. So I love the frame TV. I'm a huge fan, but I love art. And we've been able to have all of our TVs hidden by canvases that we just sort of prop up and hide the TV for when we need it. We're big football fans, huge football fans. So we watch a lot of TV, and that puppy just comes right off. So I started painting probably about 10 years ago when we moved into our old house. I had beautiful walls that just really were art worthy, but we didn't have the means. And so I think that actually was my first painting. I found it at an estate sale, and if you look, it has this texture underneath it because it was this I think it was actually a dolphin print. But I went and I primed it and I added white over it, and I kind of like this look of whatever it had going on before coming out. And then I gold leafed the frame, which was just black bamboo. Needs to be touched up a little bit. And then just tried my hand at some fun strokes. And I think I've always gravitated toward art. And in school, I loved art class and trying out painting. But really for our home, about 10 years ago was when I first started trying my hand at it. And we got some fun pieces out of it. I love anytime I can add rattan, wicker. I do. It's, I think, again, the Miami in me, but this little 1960s elephant just makes me so happy. I feel like I saw these all over Palm Beach growing up, and I had to hunt to find one. I found one on Facebook Marketplace. I'm on the hunt for another one. Just a reminder that we're constantly, adding little pieces, but on the other side, I'll have another one. So maybe next time we talk, you'll see it there. So again, I love collections, and all of my coffee tables kind of have little curiosities. I think these paperweights from the mid-century are just so cool. This is a little bird. I think I'm so curious how they're done. I mean, glass blowing has always blown my mind, and I just love the way that they're able to create something so beautiful in this dense piece of glass. It's truly, truly a masterpiece. So I love coffee table books. A lot of them have to do with design. Sometimes there's a fun book about football or cooking. This is a deck of cards. We love playing rummy with our friends, so I love having a space there. We'll clear everything off this table and we'll sit here, slide the chairs in, and play on this table. The kids hilariously play with this tic-tac-toe all the time, and adults as well. Sometimes they, put it in their eyes and make fun things out of it besides just tic-tac-toe. And then again, some old pieces. So these are some candlesticks that I inherited, and I just thought, you know what, I don't want to only pull them out every, couple of weeks or every month when I have a party or something. Maybe they should be out more often. So have those out. And then I love flowers and plants. This is a faux orchid that I was able to put together myself, and I love because it looks so real, but is absolutely 100% low maintenance, of course. And then each one of my kids is assigned a plant that they take care of. I think this is Annabelle's plant, and she comes in, and I think her regimen is once a week, but some got lucky and theirs is once every other week. So this fireplace, when we built it, I basically asked them for the tallest, biggest fireplace you could do that wasn't a mason fireplace. So this is actually an insert, but it has that beautiful stone herringbone in the back. It's fully functional. We can pop this puppy up, really, really roaring fire. And I'm being from Miami, when it gets below 70, I feel like I need a fire in the morning. So we're about to have to start using this in Texas. But I love a tall mantle, big, tall fireplace, and I love gas. If at all possible, it's my favorite. Zero maintenance and easy. If Brian's on a work trip, I can come in, light it up with the kids, and don't feel like I have to go chop wood, gather wood, etc. I'm an English major from Texas A&M University, whoop, and I did not clearly have this in mind. After school, went to work for the Bush administration in DC, loved my job there. We got married. My darling husband got accepted to law school, so we had to move to California. So I obviously couldn't keep doing that. Worked for a medical device company called Stryker, which I loved, and then kind of finally ended up back in Dallas when I got to, quote, retire to be a mom. And I did minor in Spanish, so I do speak Spanish, as do all our kids fluently. And obviously with my time at the White House, I had a lot of project management. I was working for the Secretary of Education as her right-hand person, kind of managing her schedule and her life. And I think adding the management piece with my just love for people, and it worked out to where I, on our first home, was able to do a lot of the work and kind of found myself really loving the building design aspect. So I designed that house myself and was able to take that one again, also from a ranch to sort of a nice, lovely two-story. And I felt like, this is kind of fun. Maybe I could just do this for people. And people started asking. So fast forward, I started my business, was able to do it for a number of clients, and then we built this house. And that's when, start to finish, all the nuts and bolts I was able to manage. And then all the design pieces were all my touches too. And ever since have been able to do a number of clients' homes that are way more beautiful than my own, but it's been really fun. So no, all that to say, I do not have a training in this, but fortunately now with platforms like you guys, social media is fabulous for teaching people, and I kind of pick up on people's styles as I talk to them and can kind of be creative in imagining their spaces with them. Leaving the living room, you go through these double doors into my husband's study. I gave him the best view when building the house. I wanted him to be able to look out on the pool, but we also wanted him to have this space where he could come in, hang with guys, have a glass of bourbon, sit here in this sitting area over here. A lot of the art in here is, I've painted myself. This I painted for his 40th birthday. It's of our family home in Creede, Colorado. The Rio Grande runs right in the backyard, and that was kind of a fun nod to one of his favorite places of his childhood. One thing I love in design is when you can have monochromatic curtains matching sheens. So in this room, for instance, my paneling is more of a satin, has a little more of a gloss to it, and the exact same color flat on the walls, and then the exact same color, or very, very similar, linen curtains. It adds texture while not being too busy. You kind of in your mind think, oh great, it's all the same color, so it's not too distracting, but in reality, it just adds these cool layers. I wanted his room to be masculine, but I did, again, want the curtains and want to have some fun texture, and that was kind of a good way to do it without having it be a little too light and bright. Same with these pillows. So they're a hair different color blue, but they kind of all cohesively go together, I think, on that palette. And I love the velvet here as well. Again, this is just kind of, in my opinion, a fun way to zhuzh up an otherwise basic herringbone chair. Adding a cool texture and pattern via a pillow is an easy way to do that. And then I love in an office to have a nice mix of books, ones that he'll read for fun, others that he needs professionally. And then I like to have a little bar platter. Sometimes we'll have other glasses in here, but we usually have mule and bourbon glasses. And then I would say having space on the inside, we have a lot of blankets and things that we'll typically store in our hidden consoles. That way when the kids are in here while he's working, they can cozy up, do their homework, feel nestled in without having the clutter of the blankets out all the time. This room directly behind me, for instance, being born and raised in Miami, is pops of color and is definitely a nod to that. So that's a little more grand millennial, I would say, but I love and appreciate modern pieces. I love lacquer and burl and things that are very sleek, and I love stone. There's a lot of marble throughout my house. So I love that modern and clean look, but I also really enjoy a traditional palette. So I really love beautiful coffee table books. Flowers are throughout the house. I think every room has a plant. So hopefully we'll breathe better as a result of it. But I think it's kind of a compilation. But I'd say probably traditional modern meets grand millennial with those pops of color. So actually the chandelier in my breakfast nook, it is, when we had just moved into our old house, I couldn't really afford the big, beautiful Serena and Lily beaded piece with hemp, but I wanted it. So I found a piece that was very similar from World Market. It was brown and had black iron trim, which was not our style at all. So I actually hung it from a rope from our tree in the backyard, lacquered it white, and then hand wrapped it with hemp, which sounds a lot easier, but you kind of have to hold the ball and twist it through. It was kind of a beat down. But anyway, that piece, hilariously, when my friend bought our old house, got to keep that piece. So not only did I get to do it one time, I got to do it twice. So now we have matching pieces. I've recreated it. I just felt like it was a nod to that original hard work. I had to have it in this house. And anyway, that's one of my favorite pieces, just because the kind of the elbow grease that went into it, I think. And off of the other side of the living room, this is, I would say, the heartbeat of the home. This is our kitchen. And we asked our designer, our architect, to build kind of as big of an island as possible, because we do use this for hosting as well as in the morning. I wish you could see the kind of lunches being packed, and then mangoes being chopped, and then over there's usually syrup on the counter from some sort of waffle mess. And so anyway, this is kind of, if the kitchen is the heartbeat of the home, this is like the main aorta, the island. And he basically said you can get a slab up to kind of 130 inches. And so we did that. We said let's see what we can get out of it lengthwise. When I went to the slab store, I saw this beautiful slab with a book matched slab right next to it, and I thought, oh my goodness, that I'd really, really like that. So we were able to get both, and you'll see that that's throughout our kitchen as well as on the fireplace that you guys just saw in the living room. These lanterns are fun. I wanted the ones from Urban Electric that are so fabulous, but quite frankly, we had spent a lot of money on the house, and I thought, okay, you know what, this may be an area that I have to go a little more meager. So I found these through Sam's. I think they're Cristorama, and they were black, and so I used a chalk painted them kind of that beautiful robin's egg blue, and put the glass back on, and I love them. I think it's kind of an unexpected pop in here to have blue lanterns. Hilariously, our kids lately, we both really do love to cook. I'd say if it's inside, so if we're baking or doing something on the stove, I do that. And honestly, the kids have been doing most of the baking lately. They just love it. And my husband is the grill master. You'll see he's got the egg and the other grill, and he loves getting out there with some meat, with some root vegetables. We love bacon wrapped jalapenos. So we do those often. And so we kind of I think we all have our lanes, which is nice. So this is this is faux or fake, if you will. These are from Amazon. These peonies, I wish you could see them up close and touch them. They feel and look 100% real. I had essentially been doing arrangements every week from December of 2021, and I thought, you know what, it's not very economic. and it's kind of exhausting. So I just hunted down real touch hydrangeas. These, again, have that latexy touch to them. And then these peonies from Amazon, again, I can't tell you how many compliments I get. And then I think if you nestle in just kind of some fun oddities, like this is just some random driftwood that we had. I was asked to do a wreath for this charity, and I had some leftover faux eucalyptus, so I just shoved that in there, and it kind of came together. Oh, and these little limes. I'll go ahead and take one out so I can show you, but they're just kind of, fake limes on a stick, that very, very formal. And then, put lime on stick and stick in styrofoam. And that's kind of how it goes. I'll have to nestle that in there a little bit, but I get so many compliments on this, hilariously. It's one of those pieces that you would never think that just, throwing together would be such a statement, but it really actually helps us not have to overhaul this space very often. And I use it for a lot of parties too. I don't really have to change it out, except for, I think at Christmas, I love doing like pine and deep greens and magnolias. Hilariously, when we finished the house, we moved in the week before Christmas. I was sort of adamant about that. And so there were areas that weren't wallpapered yet. And I just said, they can wait. So our first Christmas party we hosted the day after we moved in, the first Christmas party in this house. And this space was not wallpapered and there was nothing hung. And so we had kind of a guessing game of people asking us what this space was. And the number one was a timeout closet. But no, it's not. It's our wine sort of cellar display. I had always loved the idea of having wine on hand for parties, etc., but I didn't want it nestled away necessarily. I think wine is beautiful. I think the vineyards actually spend a lot of time thinking through labels and the colors. For instance, La Marca, Veuve, everyone knows those colors. They're so iconic, and I think they're some of my favorite colors. And so I think that it's art in a way. And so it's kind of a fun way to give them their ode. And also, like I said, have ample wine on hand for when we go to parties and we want to bring a hostess gift, or if we, spur of the moment, want to celebrate something, throw it on ice, and we're ready to go. So this is what I affectionately call my ladies' bar. I actually wallpapered this myself because it was kind of an after the fact. I'd had that wallpapered in the breakfast nook, and I had some left over, and I thought, you know what, I really want this to display some of the special things for me. I feel like Brian gets his bar and it's a little more masculine. And so this was where I can display a lot of my pink plates, some sweet gifts I've gotten over the years. I think this Murano glass is just stunning. And then these are teacups from Brian's great-grandmother that we inherited. And I just thought they were worthy to be displayed. So this is my little ladies bar that just makes me happy. And again, it's practical. We grab wine glasses there from often. We can set up a bucket of wine here to create a different space. Right off of the kitchen is our breakfast nook that we made a little bit larger because, to be honest, we eat here 9 times out of 10. It's very practical. The cushion is a faux leather that just magic erases. You can spill spaghetti sauce and not worry about it. I've made all these pillows except for 2, and again, they can kind of get dinged up. But this is I think our where we eat 9 times out of 10. It's casual, but we love that it feels like we're outside. So we have a view of the pool, a little bit of the outside coming in through the windows, and then here's that chandelier that I slaved over now twice. That was kind of khaki with black iron metal that I painted gold, and then probably blistered my fingers winding the hemp through. And then these panels are fun. I love anytime you can bring in like a chinoiserie look. These panels, it was a string of panels, so they were all connected, and they had sort of like a black trim to them, which was a little too dark for my liking. So I actually hand framed these myself, which is why they're probably a little bit wonky. But I wrapped the edges, sort of matted it with this beautiful green satin, and then framed them in these shadow box frames to beef them up and also have them feel a little bit lighter, because I think sometimes that old paneling can be a little dark, and I wanted this room to be a little more light and coastal. This rug, I love what they're doing with textures, with jute. lately, I mean, the scalloped and then the circles, I think make what would otherwise be a basic jute rug so fabulous. And they have them in all different sizes. You can get ones that don't have the circles in them per se, but have a different colored piping or trim around them. And I think it's such a fun way to make the ground whimsical too. I think sometimes when we put a rug down, we think, okay, functional, it must kind of end at function. And I think here, especially in this room, I needed it to be able to be dinged up, needed to be able to spill spaghetti sauce and hose it off, but I still wanted it to have that airy, light look. So this is actually a really reasonable rug. I'm trying to even remember where I got it. I'm sure Amazon or Overstock or something, but very, very practical, reasonably priced, and functional. I think you can also put the sticky edges and hold it down, but the table does a great job holding it down, and we have no issues in here. Off the kitchen on the other side, we have kind of the pantry mudroom combo. We have double ovens in here, which I highly recommend if you have this space. Also the fridge for drinks. You can come in from the pool, kids are grabbing Cokes, club soda. And then our pantry, which I love, is right off of the stove, and the Neat method actually did our pantry and made it so functional for our family. They came in, saw how we use our pantry, and put things in really practical ways. For instance, dinner prep, I have this bin, easy to grab in the evenings, breakfast, lots of oatmeals and other goodies, and then snacks, which is what my kids thrive off at the end of the day. So they'll come in, quickly grab something, be taken care of. And then I think these risers, I know people have been using these for years. I never had them, but I think they're so functional because you can easily see what you have, grab what you need for cooking, be on your way. With 4 kids and all the schedules, efficiency is key. And then the last little funny piece, so I designed a salon for a friend, and they have what is called the eye vac, and all salons have this, and they sort of sweep up the hair and then it magically sucks it up. Anyway, I found one on Poshmark and I'm obsessed with it. So we'll sweep, and then for instance, there's this little piece here. I'm going to dust it over, and when it gets in front, it sucks it up. So kind of a funny, nice to have, not need to have, but it definitely helps my kids be incentivized to clean. I hear them sometimes sweeping the house with a dust mop, and then I hear the eye vac come on. So anything to help them want to clean, I highly recommend. And then we wanted to have our pantry and mudroom connected. We can shut this door, kind of keep this area closed off, but this is sort of where the landing is when we come in from the garage. Each one of our kids has 2 lockers. The down is usually holds their school supplies, and then shoes, and then the top is sports helmets, cleats, etc. This is a fun wallpaper that's just that chartreuse color is, I think, so fun. And maybe not one that you would want to have in a like a bedroom or anything, but I think this is just such a fun way to enter the house from the garage. You walk in and you're like, I'm home, it's happy. And I think mixing it with this moodier blue is just kind of is a fun dichotomy. It's a very busy wallpaper, so I think having a more stout, kind of homey, deep color balances out pretty well. Off of the breezeway, after leaving the powder bath, you come into the main backyard, which is one of our favorite spaces. I realize I say that about a lot of spaces, but we spend the most time out here, especially in the summer with the kids, the pool. I'll frequently come out with work. I'll bring some clients' wallpaper and fabrics, and I'll sit right here, have a Diet Coke, and judge their diving contest. This pool, I joke that in the fall, at a lot of pools, it becomes like a 30,000 gallon fountain, but we do use our pool. My crazy kids are in it, even into the winter, but for the most part, we are about to transition to hot tub time. One thing we were able to do when we built the house, which I was really grateful, being someone who cares about the resourcefulness, we pulled up all of the old travertine tile. There was about like 2,000 square feet of it, and it was everywhere. And it just made the whole backyard feel like one big stone backyard. And we ripped it all up, stacked it, cleaned it, came back in, laid it in these cool rectangular pavers, and had turf put in between it. So it's kind of a fun way to have right off of these main doors that come off of the living room to feel like you're truly in the outdoors, even though with the patio, we really would have never been able to have grass grow. So it's kind of one of those things that I think helps bring the indoors and the outdoors a little more easily together when you don't have irrigation or you don't have the sunlight you need to grow grass. And in this backyard space, we kept real grass. We purposefully did these giant riser stairs so that when we have kids over, they can sit here, eat pizza, dry their towels off, hang out. So it's added seating. When we're watching football games, it's kind of stadium seating. And then out here, this is where the kids run wild. At any given time, we usually have about 6 nets. We have a volleyball net, a soccer goal, a soccer rebounder, a football thrower thing, I don't really know. And then we have this little putting green that's kind of fun. Our kids can chip over the driveway between this one little hole that's on the main lawn over to the other side. So we've tried to utilize every inch of the yard. Really being outside and having the space for the kids to run and host is really important to us. So we tried to maximize all the spaces to do that. One thing we did, which maybe people have differing opinions, but by the pool, we really wanted it to be clean. So when the kids jump in the pool, they weren't getting grass all over the place. And also it's just a little bit cozier. We put turf right by the pool. So on the levels that are down below, it's all turf. And then all of this up at the top is zoysia grass. So this does turn brown in the winter while this stays green, but it really doesn't bother us. And it does create a nice space for us to always have a clean spot for the kids to jump in the pool. Up here we have the fire pit, which is so fun for s'mores. When we host parties, we have it going so people, and we prop up a bunch of Adirondack chairs and let people sit and have a cocktail, enjoy the fire pit. And over on this space, it was really underutilized when we bought the house. There was probably about 5 feet of hardscape, and that was it. And then all of this was just sort of mud and bush. And so what we did was we extended the slab over enough to have these pavers carry all the way to this outdoor kitchen. Hilariously, our fence was put on the wrong line. So we actually had 2 feet of an alley between our fence and our neighbors. So we were able to gain that back, put this outdoor kitchen right here. And I highly recommend, if you have a spot where you could nestle something like this in, think about how your family can use it. For us, we love having the option of doing the charcoal, doing like the hickory smoke. And then here, I love personally the option of just coming out and lighting up, not feeling like I have to smell like charcoal, but can easily get some steaks on the grill for us. And then for us, having some counter space was important. This is typically full of drinks for the kids, for the pool. When it's blazing hot in the summer, I fill it up. Even if I have folks working on the yard, all of my subs know at any given time, feel free to grab a water from here. And then we've got trash, and then just odds and ends. We've got some of our little burners and some lighters in there. And this goes out to the front of the house. If you have a chance to have a space that can allow people to come and go, especially if you have a pool, I love having the option of just saying, hey, come jump in the pool, come, the side gate's open. That way nobody has to come through the house unless they need to. And then also when we're out of town, we can say, hey, bring your family over, use our pool, come in the side gate, the pool bath's available. And that happens a lot. We love letting people use our space when we're not around too. Our family, for instance, we truly love caring for people. And so I think that's where our home has that aspect of being inviting, where kids know they can show up, where if somebody needs to host, a lot of the parties that we do host, friends' husbands will reach out and say, hey, my wife's turning 40, would you be able to help me? Absolutely, I'd love to host. I'd love to take care of it for you. And so I think that's kind of been the heartbeat of our house. And I think you can see that in other people's houses too. You can see some families, it's like family time and the dinner table. You can just tell that's the heartbeat. And so I love going into homes and learning about people just by how their homes are set up and by how you can learn a lot about how they operate. And now we can go upstairs and take a look at some of the bedrooms. So at the top of the stairs, we have family room, TV, easy kids landing, and then we come into the bedrooms. Straight ahead, this is my son's room. We call his room the tree house. He is nestled up here in this beautiful oak, and we've made his room fun, I think, with the differing trim, the sort of contrast, darker trim. I love having a rug on rug. I know some people have differing opinions about that. I think, especially with a young boy of 9 years old, they're up here playing Nerf. I mean, they literally go from catching frogs to coming up here. And I can only imagine the kind of dirt that you would have ground in your actual carpet. I'd rather have it ground down into a rug so that we can just kind of get rid of it as it gets all dinged up. I love putting a fun shade. This has been great. These are blackout, so easy, just cordless, open, close, and also can kind of add a fun pattern. Also, I love how they carry your eyes up. So these are already pretty tall windows, but when you put the shade, it masks kind of the 2 feet that are behind it and makes this window look extremely tall. So, and he has a really fun bathroom. After having 3 girls, having 1 boy was really fun. I let him choose his wallpaper. He chose this, I think, fun geometric that can grow with him. Not too kid, but I would have this in my bathroom. And then even down to the design on his backsplash, we kept it simple with the subway tiles, very economic, reasonable, traditional, carries through, kind of timeless. And then I think it was fun to do this little pattern with the black charcoal tiles and the herringbone. And then this ground makes me happy as well. It's just your simple dowel tile with gray. They're not at the hexagon, and instead of penny rounds, you've got those square tiles. I love something like this. Anytime you can do gray grout, especially in a bathroom where a boy is going to be running in with muddy feet, it's so nice, so forgivable. Then you don't have to be cleaning your grout all the time, which I'm a fan of. Off of the other side of the family room is our laundry room and my studio office. So our architect helped design this extra large so that we could have ample space for crafting. This is where I do a lot of art. This is where we do a lot of clothes folding, And actually, hilariously, we were able to pull out the island from the old kitchen and reuse it. So this is actually just a repurposed island. We put a new slab on it and have been able to use it for this utility space. I love the bright light. Over on this side, I can be doing my laundry, easy uppers. Down here, I've got my dust buster, kind of more practical. And then on this side, you can actually see here, these are 2 pieces of art that I just finished, and they go together, and I need to figure out a place to hang them. But you can see that this is sort of my studio half of the space. So this is where I do a lot of my design work. I will, instead of having an easel, I'll prop up a canvas here and do painting. And so this is where we can do a lot of creation. Cabinets in the laundry room, highly recommend. These hold everything from craft bins. I have hot glue guns. I have little lucite rods to put in orchids. And then I have a lot of bins for towels and other linens, but storage in here has been really, really helpful. And right across from the laundry, this is the primary bedroom. When we designed it, we specifically designed this sort of buffer zone enclave between the family room and the main bedroom. It's really just a kind of a pretty hallway, and it also buffers the sound quite a bit, which is helpful. In the main bedroom, some fun features. I actually built I built all 3 pieces in this room. That piece over there is the top half of the burlwood piece in the entry. I just did it a little differently. Obviously, I built an outside frame and made it more like an inset cabinet. And then these two nightstands, I had hunted for bedside tables for so long, and I couldn't quite find what I wanted. So I found this one taller, sort of high boy, lopped it in half, was able to put legs on each. You'll see the other one has slightly longer legs. And then, again, you're shocked. I have a marble top. But I love how it turned out. It's old and it's new, but with the white pops, but it's exactly what we wanted. And it was like $200 for the piece itself, and then a lot of sweat equity. I love creating cozy spaces with rugs. This is a wool, really, really thick wool rug. If you look at it, it's woven almost like a yarn, and it's so cozy underfoot. It's really, I love to put this in client spaces, from bedrooms to living rooms, because the color variation is actually very forgiving and hides dirt well. But it also, when you wake up in the morning, it's just cozy and it's really reasonable. I want to say it was from Overstock. And then one thing I enjoy doing that I recommend if you can, I love layering curtains and shades. So for instance, having these nightstands be a little bit deeper, it would have been very hard to shut the curtains every night. So we have this shade that's a blackout, very easy, cordless. We shut them, open them in the morning. I know some people have differing opinions on shades and curtains and combining them, but I love whenever you can do it. I think it's really practical and it adds a lovely touch to any room. Right off of the master bedroom, we have the master bathroom, which flows right into the closet. The bathroom is fun. We love this blush pink wallpaper. It's so muted that I don't think it looks Pepto-Bismol pink. It's really subtle. I did hang a number of papers, let my husband choose, and he was like, oh, I love it. So we went with it. I really enjoy it. It makes me happy every time we come in the morning. And a lot of times the kids are in here, 9 times out of 10, all 4 of them are getting ready with me. Brian likes to shower in the pool bath. That's his place of choice. But we'll have any number of us all in here at once, and it's kind of a fun space to be getting ready all together in the morning. And then our architect was great, gave us this big closet right off of the primary bath. This has been a fun dressing room closet combo. I love dresses. I have a number of purses I've gathered from estate sales, and it's kind of a fun, clean way to get dressed. I love that this bench fits in here perfectly. I actually bought it after we finished building the house, but it's kind of a fun space. It's not uncommon for me to come in here with my coffee and just have a sip of coffee alone after the kids go to school. This chandelier is actually from our old house that our friends bought. We had it over the dining room. It was mimicked after the Hall Winery chandelier. Catherine Hall has a beautiful Austrian Swarovski crystal chandelier that's supposed to look like the roots of a vine. And we just loved it in our days out in Palo Alto. And so we said, okay, we want one of those. Anyway, when our friends bought our old house, they said, yep, you can keep that chandelier. And this was the perfect spot for it. And then you'll see the slab is the same as the slab from the kitchen. We were able to utilize every inch of it when we were sort of piecing together all the spaces between the laundry room and the fireplace and the kitchen. We were able to utilize all the pieces. And I love how this vein, again, just got to be centered right here. I think anytime that works out, I just think God's creation is really cool how he did that. Okay, one of my fun bag finds was from an estate sale close by. I was with the kids and we walked in, and it was an otherwise unassuming estate sale, but I walked into the first bedroom and I found this beautiful little satchel, and it's wicker and lacquered, and I didn't really notice any markings on it. I just fell in love with it. And then I looked closer and I noticed it's a Ferragamo, and it was a lesson for my kids. I pulled them into one of the back rooms and I was like, let's Google this. Let's just see. Because it was $80 and I had it on my arm. I was buying it either way. It was listed at the exact time on Ferragamo's website for $3,800. So my kids were just like, they felt like we'd stolen it. They got that first, like just experience of like, oh my goodness, we can save so much if we just pop into these random estate sales. Plus, it's just fun. I love thinking about the places it got to go in its earlier life. I'm sure she was fabulous, and I would love to have gotten to be a part of her parties that she got to go to, and now they get to go with me to parties. I do love shoes a lot. I've become more a fan of wedges because I just think heels are so lovely, but they're just not practical. I think it was my days in DC that sort of solidified this in my brain. But I love finding, a good espadrille is always great. These Stuart Weitzmans are my absolute favorite. They, I think, are a $500 pair of shoe from Neiman's. I got for $15. I really don't think they'd been worn. If I'm honest, they were in perfect condition when I found them. And again, I can dress them up. They're that pretty nude patterned, or dress them down, wear them with a sundress. And the wedge makes it where I can wear them all day long without feeling uncomfortable. So I really think home is where you can collectively breathe. And I think in a world where our kids are strapped with sports and school and friends, and same with us. My husband's an attorney, works very, very hard, and we both are just busy in a lot of ways. We love to travel. Our home is where we can just exhale, just allow all the things to be aired out. We're very authentic in our family, and just recharge to go out and pour out some more. So I'd say that's what home is to us.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.